Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series on the life divine with our beloved Ranga. We are in the chapter Reality and the Integral Knowledge. At the bottom of page 677, our sentence begins with, "An integral knowledge demands an exploration."
Before we start, we'll look at what he has said in the previous para, in summary. Any a priori refusal to inquire into and examine further extends one's knowledge is an obscurantism, and a foolish self-limitation. This is as bad as, if not worse, of religious bigotry in Europe when scientific knowledge was opposed by the church and declared invalid. Spiritual knowledge, such as the self, witness self, cosmic consciousness, liberation of the spirit, the direct communication of mind with mind, cannot be subjected materialistic jurisdiction which vaunts itself as the final arbiter of all knowledge. The subtle fields of knowledge must use their own subtle instruments for investigation and verification of their data. Even physical facts and truths cannot be judged by normal untrained mind of man. One needs to train the mind to interpret and explain scientific facts. So too, the subtler truths of spiritual life cannot be understood or judged by those not familiar with the subtle laws of the inner life. The same processes of scientific inquiry, which are experimentation, repeatability, verification, are applicable in every field. But the instruments and methods have to be relevant and commensurate to those fields. Scientific instruments cannot be used to verify the subtler truths of other ranges. To refuse oneself freedom to discover, investigate, and organize the laws of the subtler planes is an irrational blindness. You may feel funny when you read this, that why should anyone refuse to accept? It's so obvious that we should look for more. But in practical life, the difficulties are so immense that people say no. They don't want to go further. The physical world is all I see, that's the truth.
I have enough on my plate.
Exactly. So this is what Shabda said in the previous para. Now we read today's para. An integral knowledge demands an exploration, an unveiling of all the possible domains of consciousness and experience. For there are subjective domains of our being which lie behind the obvious surface. These have to be fathomed, and whatever is ascertained must be admitted within the scope of the total reality. An inner range of spiritual experience is one very great domain of human consciousness. It has to be entered into up to its deepest depths and its vastest reaches. The supraphysical is as real as the physical. To know it is part of a complete knowledge. The knowledge of the supraphysical has been associated with mysticism and occultism, and occultism has been banned as a superstition and a fantastic error. But the occult is a part of existence. A true occultism means no more than a research into supraphysical realities and an unveiling of the hidden laws of being and nature, of all that is not obvious on the surface. It attempts the discovery of the secret laws of mind and mental energy, the secret laws of life and life energy, the secret laws of the subtle physical and its energies, all that nature has not put into visible operation on the surface. It pursues also the application of these hidden truths and powers of nature so as to extend the mastery of the human spirit beyond the ordinary operations of mind, the ordinary operations of life, the ordinary operations of our physical existence. In the spiritual domain, which is occult to the surface mind, insofar as it passes beyond normal and enters into supernormal experience, there is possible not only the discovery of the self and spirit, but the discovery of the uplifting, informing, and guiding light of spiritual consciousness and the power of the spirit, a spiritual way of knowledge, a spiritual way of action. To know these things and to bring their truths and forces into the life of humanity is a necessary part of its evolution. Science itself, in its own way, is an occultism. I'll read that again. Science itself is in its own way an occultism, for it brings to light the formulas which nature has hidden, and it uses its knowledge to set free operations of her energies which she has not included in her ordinary operations, and to organize and place at the service of man her occult powers and processes, a vast system of physical magic. For there is and can be no other magic than the utilization of secret truths of being, secret powers and processes of nature. It may even be found that a supraphysical knowledge is necessary for the completion of physical knowledge, because the processes of physical nature have behind them a supraphysical factor, a power and action, mental, vital or spiritual, which is not tangible to any other means of knowledge.
To any outer.
Yeah, what did I say?
Other.
No, to any outer means of knowledge. Yeah, if you consider the supraphysical knowledge, it can be other, but it is outer means of knowledge. Outer means of knowledge, science. So, interesting what Swami is saying, and there are a few phrases which need a bit looking into. So, very quickly, I'll go through each sentence. Okay, so, I'm rereading and quickly going through each sentence. One or two things have to be pointed out. An integral knowledge demands an exploration, an unveiling of all the possible domains of consciousness and experience. Note interestingly, all possible domains of consciousness. Later on, 4 or 5 paragraphs later on, he will tell us what these possible domains of consciousness are. Okay, so we have to know everything. If you don't know everything, then you have got half knowledge. Okay. There are 2 lines of Alexander Pope. A couplet is there, very interesting.
Yeah.
What's the first one? A half knowledge, I think it goes. I'm not sure the first one. A half knowledge or a semi-knowledge or something is a dangerous thing. Okay? Drink deep or taste not the Pierian spring. So, you have to go deep into everything, and that's what Swami is saying here. A half knowledge is a dangerous thing. You'll come to wrong conclusions.
He also says in another couplet, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still.
So Swami is saying you need to have an integral knowledge of all the possible domains of consciousness. Otherwise, your knowledge will be incomplete. For, he is explaining, for there are subjective domains of our being which lie behind the obvious surface. Which is the obvious surface? Matter, life, mind. Even mind is half hidden. Even life is half hidden. Matter is the only thing which is surface. Okay, sir. Which lie behind the obvious surface. These have to be fathomed, and whatever is ascertained must be admitted within the scope of the total reality. We have to examine life and we have to examine mind and even beyond. And he will explain what the beyond is. Okay? An inner range of spiritual experience is one very great domain of human consciousness. It has to be entered into up to its deepest depths and its vastest reaches. Now note interestingly, Sridhar is making a difference between deepest depths and vastest reaches. So, even the inconscient has to be explored. And vastest reaches is the horizontal. The vertical is up and the deepest is below. All this we have to know. The supra-physical is as real as the physical. The physical is limited to the three planes of matter, life and mind. And the supra-physical is above the mind. The spiritual planes of consciousness is as real as the physical. To know it is part of a complete knowledge. You must know what is above. Okay. The knowledge of the supra-physical has been associated with mysticism and occultism. He is talking of Europe. Okay. And occultism has been banned as a superstition and a fantastic error. Why? Because there is no means of verification. In science you have to verify. But if you are having an experience, how can I know what is true or not? In science I can always verify with physical means. But the occult is a part of existence. A true occultism means no more than a research into supraphysical realities and the unveiling of the hidden laws of being and nature. Hidden laws of being, existence and nature. Of all that is not obvious on the surface. It attempts the discovery of the secret laws of mind and mental energy. So you have the field of psychology, okay? The secret laws of mind and energy. The secret laws of life and life energy. Occultism. How to manipulate life energy. Okay? Those who know how to do that. The secret laws of the subtle physical and its energies. All that nature has not put into visible operation on the surface. So we have to examine all these also. It pursues also the application of these hidden truths and powers of nature so as to extend the mastery of the human spirit beyond the ordinary operations of mind, the ordinary operations of life, the ordinary operations of our physical existence. So you have to know even physically, X-rays, gamma rays, mobile vibrations, all these things we have to know, okay? And then you put them at the mastery of the human spirit. It's part of the human spirit. A man can use these powers. So, in the spiritual domain, which is occult to the surface mind, insofar as it passes beyond normal and enters into supernormal experience, there is possible not only the discovery of the self. We have already discussed self, and so he is now not explaining what self is. Self and spirit, but the discovery of the uplifting, informing and guiding. Now this is very interesting. These three words, he is using different words, but he is actually meaning, what he is meaning we will discuss. Okay? Uplifting, he is meaning the transcendent. Okay? Informing, the cosmic consciousness. The divine is there in each object, in each thing. Okay? And guiding light of spiritual experience. The divine is there in you, immanent, and is guiding you. So these three words correspond to the transcendent, the cosmic and the individual.
And the word informing.
Yeah. Informing means to go into the form.
Yes.
He uses it in that sense. Informing means immanence. Immanence. He has gone into the form, is the immanent form. And that's the cosmic. And the guiding. The soul in you is guiding. So all these we have to know. The transcendent, the cosmic and the individual. If you are not very, very careful, you will miss the implication of these three words: uplifting, informing, guiding, light of spiritual consciousness and the power of the spirit. A spiritual way of knowledge, a spiritual way of action. Not the ordinary action, nor the ordinary knowledge. To know these things and to bring their truths and forces into the life of humanity is a necessary part of its evolution. So science itself in its own way is an occultism. Science itself is in its own way an occultism. Why? Because it has gone beyond the material. X-rays, it has discovered X-rays which are not physical, apparently physical, but it's physical. Okay? What about the mobiles, the radio waves? Science has gone beyond that. Okay? We have also discovered how energy is there in matter, and we can explore that, exploit that by releasing atomic energy from metals. There is a very interesting mother's play. There is mother's play. I've forgotten the title of the play, but they are all in a boat, and each one is speaking about his experiences. One is a diplomat, one is a scientist, one is and Poitita was a scientist, and he mentions this in his speech. He says that we have discovered how to get energy out of uranium, but we still don't know how to get energy out of, let us say, any other metal, antimony for instance, or brass. We don't know how to get it out. Brass is not an element, but anyway. But now we are discovering. We have discovered how to use hydrogen now. So the energy from hydrogen we are able to use now. It's already started. So that's what he says. So there is a spiritual way of knowledge and spiritual way of action. To know these things and to bring their truths and forces into the life of humanity is a necessary part of its evolution. Science itself is in its own way an occultism, for it brings to light the formulas which nature has hidden, and it uses its knowledge to set free operations of her energies which she has not included in her ordinary operations, and to organize and place at the service of man her occult powers and processes, a vast system of physical magic. Physical magic. For there is and can be no other magic than the utilization of secret truths of being, secret powers and processes of nature. Now this is very interesting about Shamsi, not going into details, but so many things are there which we see also, but we can't understand. For instance, a lizard, okay, climbs up on the wall. How does it do that? So when man is interested and he has to explore how it is possible, it's not possible for man to walk on a wall. So if he looks carefully, he will see that the legs of the have a mechanism by which there is a suction action.
Kind of suction cup,
yeah.
Yes.
So then you know how to do that. So these things, so then you apply also and try to get, and so many, the discovery of Velcro has also been by watching nature, okay. The discovery of even flying by watching the birds, how to.
And psychokinesis.
Yes.
Psychotelis.
That's right.
Kinesis.
So all these things. So this is what Shamsi is saying. Even science is an occultism, he is saying, because it is discovered, gone beyond the physical. Okay. It may even be found that supraphysical knowledge is necessary for the completion of physical knowledge, because the processes of physical nature have behind them a supraphysical factor, a power and an action, mental, vital and spiritual, which is not tangible to any outer means of knowledge. And we are slowly discovering all these things. How is it that hydrogen and oxygen, if you mix, you get water? And now if you break up water, you get hydrogen separately and oxygen separately. So there's so many interesting things that you discover. Even science, you need to know the inner secrets of nature to be able to find out. That's what Srimati is pointing out. We go to the next para.
Good.
All insistence on the soul or the fundamental validity of the objective real takes its stand on the sense of a basic reality of matter. Okay. Matter is the only truth. That's what one theory is there. But it is now evident that matter is by no means fundamentally real. It is a structure of energy. It is becoming even a little doubtful whether the acts and creations of this energy itself are explicable except as the motions of power of a secret mind or consciousness, of which its processes and steps of structure are the formulas. So, Srimati is saying matter is just a structure of energy. Science agrees with that. Matter is energy. Okay? And there is a very interesting line in Savitri, I forget the exact line, but it's very interesting. It says, this huge, vast universe, real universe, material universe, is nothing but built out of nothing. It is just energy. It's nothing physical.
But if one physically knows that this is a chair, one cannot see that it's energy and movement.
No,
unless one has a higher.
For that you have to go to a higher level of consciousness.
Yes.
But there is movement in the atomic level. The chair is not moving, but the atoms there inside at the lowest level they are moving. Okay. So he is saying, and he wrote this 100 years ago, 120, 110 years ago. But it's now evident that matter is by no means fundamentally real. Even science is now saying this. It's a structure of energy. It is becoming even a little doubtful whether the acts and creations of the energy itself are explicable except as the motions of power of a secret mind or consciousness, of which its processes and steps of structure are the formulas. So he says that you have to, even matter is not the only reality, there is a consciousness behind which is making it do things. Okay. He has discussed this in Life Divine and other places also. You have to keep going back, keep going back, keep going back. Okay, so it is therefore no longer possible to take matter as a sole reality. The material interpretation of existence was the result of an exclusive concentration only on matter, a preoccupation with one movement of existence, and such an exclusive concentration has its utility and is therefore permissible. Now note how Srendo is so wide-minded. He is not dismissing materialism as many spiritual people do. Okay? He is saying it's got its own purpose and it is valid. You have to look into it. Okay. And such an exclusive consideration has its utility and is therefore permissible. In recent times, it has justified itself by the many immense and innumerable minute discoveries of physical science. He is speaking of a time when X-rays were not there and mobiles were not there.
And computers were not there.
Computers were not there. And now all these things are there. So he is saying, minute discoveries of physical science. Okay? And now we are on the threshold of even more. The nanotechnology is even more striking and even more stunning. Okay, so anyway, that's another subject altogether. But a solution of the whole problem of existence cannot be based on an exclusive one-sided knowledge. We must know not only what matter is and what are its processes, but what mind and life are and what are their processes. And one must know also spirit and soul and all that is behind the material surface. Only then can we have a knowledge sufficiently integral for a solution of the problem. What is the problem? What is reality? Reality and the integral knowledge. That's the chapter. Okay? So the problem is, what is reality? At every level you are saying reality to something else. So what's the ultimate reality? That's a problem. Where is it gone? Yeah. It may very well be that an exclusive or predominant concentration on the subliminal being regarding the surface existence as a mere system of symbols for an expression of its total reality might throw a strong light on the subliminal and its processes and extend vastly the powers of the human being, but it would not be by itself an integral solution or lead us successfully to the integral knowledge of reality. So he is saying that there are some who think that the material world is only symbols and the reality is the subliminal and the superconscious. So there it will give you more knowledge than only this physical knowledge. But even that is not enough. That's what he's pointing out, okay? For an expression of this whole reality might throw a strong light on the subliminal, and it's subliminal below the surface. The word subliminal means below the surface. And its processes and extend vastly the powers of the human being. Okay? Powers of the human being. I don't think he's meaning through science, he's meaning through even spiritual power. Okay? So, but it would not be by itself an integral solution or lead us successfully to the integral knowledge of reality. In our view, now this is very interesting, in our view, what is this our?
His view.
His view, the integral view. Okay? In our view, that's why he says the word our. In our view, the spirit, the self, is the fundamental reality of existence. So, what is the self? Is the Brahman consciousness. It's a consciousness which you get when you go out of your body-mind life and you experience a static consciousness. There is no movement, but there is infinity, there is eternity, and it's also a field of knowledge. You are outside your body-mind life and you see this. Okay, a static, immutable consciousness. Infinite, eternal. So, is the fundamental reality of existence, which in our Indian spiritual literature we call it the Brahman. Okay, so but an exclusive concentration on this fundamental reality to the exclusion of all reality of mind, life or matter, except as an imposition on the self or unsubstantial shadow cast by the spirit, might help to an independent and radical spiritual realization, but not to an integral and valid solution of the truth of cosmic and individual existence. Yes. This needs a little bit looking into. Yes. So he is saying, let us say that the spiritual man has gone to the Brahman consciousness. So he is saying, if you stress only that consciousness and consider the physical world as unsubstantial shadows, okay, cast by the spirit, then you are likely to get some more, but it's not integral. In other words, Swami is saying that even if you go to spiritual planes of consciousness, the knowledge is not integral yet. You have to go to the third level. Okay, he is referring to a particular philosophy. I'll tell you what that is, even the Advaita philosophy. In our view, the spirit, the self, is the fundamental reality of existence. But an exclusive concentration on this fundamental reality to the exclusion of all reality of mind, life and matter. So this Advaita says, Advaita has many philosophies, but Mayavada definitely is an Advaitic philosophy. It says that mind, life and body can be excluded. They are not real, but this is real. And the mind, life, matter are the images thrown on the self. Okay? The word used in Indian psychology, philosophy is adhyaropa. You are thinking that all this is real, it is being imposed on the self, on your soul. And the soul is identifying with these images and thinking that this is the reality. Okay? So, imposition, he is using the word for adhyaropa. Okay? Except as an imposition on the self or unsubstantial shadows cast by the spirit. He could even be referring to Buddhism, because unsubstantial
Yes,
shadows cast by the
certainly.
spirit to help an independent and radical spiritual realization, but not to an integral and valid solution of the truth of cosmic and individual existence. So, cosmic, level 2, individual existence, level 1. You have to go to level 3, the supramental. Okay? We go to the third para. So, now what is this integral knowledge? An integral knowledge then must be a knowledge of the truth of all sides of existence, both separately and in the relation of each to all, and the relation of all to the truth of the spirit. So, we must know all the aspects of life, superconscient, inconscient, intraconscient, circumconscient, everything we must know, but we must also know the relations. Are they all separate or are they related? Okay? Then that is total knowledge. Our present state is an ignorance and a many-sided seeking. Man is trying to find out, but he is in ignorance. It seeks for the truth of all things, but as is evident from the insistence and the variety of the human mind's speculations as to the fundamental truth which explains all others, the reality at the basis of all things, the fundamental truth of things. So, we have to read the sentence in this way by eliminating the comma dash. The parenthetical phrase we eliminate and read the sentence to understand what is saying. Our present state is an ignorance and a many-sided seeking. It seeks for the truth of all things, but the fundamental truth of things, their basic reality must be found in some at once fundamental and universal real. It has to be fundamental, but it also has to be real universally. It is that which, once discovered, must embrace and explain all. For, he is now quoting from the Upanishads, that being known, all will be known. Yasmin vidyate sarvam vidyatam. When you know that, then everything is explained. And what is that? The third level, the supermind. Even this Brahman consciousness is not enough to explain everything. The world remains unexplained. Okay, so the fundamental real must necessarily be and contain the truth of all existence, not only one side. The truth of the individual, the truth of the universe, the truth of all that is beyond the universe. Now he is using different words. Earlier he has used different words we saw. Now he is using the words truth of all existence. Transcendent. The truth of the individual, truth of the universe, the cosmic. So again, transcendent, universe, cosmic. Constantly he is doing this. He is constantly stressing all the three. Okay, so beyond the universe. The mind, in seeking for such a reality and testing each thing from matter upwards. Note the word testing each thing. You must experiment and find out and test. And that's what he has done. He has written one letter to Dilip. Nobody has done so much of intense research as I have done, he says.
More than any scientist.
Any scientist. So that's exact testing. Okay? Each thing from matter upwards to see if that might not be it. It with an I cap. Is that the final reality? He is asking. You go on experimenting from matter upwards. Has not proceeded on a wrong intuition. So all that testing the mind is going on doing, it's on a right intuition. Mayavada and Buddhism are not the right intuition because they have stopped at one level. Swami is saying, go on, go on, go on. Okay, so all that is necessary is to carry the inquiry to its end and test the highest and ultimate levels of experience. Don't stop in the middle. Mother's ascent to truth. Don't stop in the middle. So many people stopped in the middle, but you have to go to the right to the top. Okay.
You had explained some things about Sri Aurobindo's tests last week. about Nolini going out and when he would come back. We've talked about the crow
Yes,
and his movement. Can you share anything else?
Yeah, verification, yeah.
Can you
So
share
here-
anything else?
I don't know if, did we mention the crow last time? Okay. He was experimenting
Yes,
with
some
animals
time
also.
ago, yeah.
And
yeah.
first of all with animals, then finally even with men. He is on the first floor of guest house. On the guest house, the one behind the playground. He is there on the first floor. He is looking from the window and there is the crossing. Okay, that crossing is there, the two vertical roads. And he is seeing a man is standing there. He wills him, prakamyam and aishwaryam. These are the powers that come when you do yoga. So he is now willing that man to go left, and he is seeing whether he is going to do it or not. If he is not doing it, then the power is not full. If he is doing it with a little delay, the power is there but incomplete. If he obeys immediately, then the power is full. And then he started applying this power to world events. He says, for instance, that he experimented. Turkey was a khilafat, it was a khalif, purely Muslim country. But at that time he experimented and they went into a modern democracy not based on Islam. So it was a modern democratic republic. Kamal Atatürk, he was working through him. He also tried experimenting with Ireland, because Ireland was colonized by Britain. And for a long time the Irish had to fight with them. So he was helping them to fight. Okay. Then he tried also with the Russian Revolution. And we all know about Dunkirk. So that's for all these are the powers that he was going on testing and utilizing these powers. The one about the crow is very interesting. He is seeing a crow sitting on a parapet of the terrace. And he wills that crow to go and sit on the branch on the other tree there. So he says in the beginning, it flew elsewhere and then went and sat on the branch. Okay? So power is still incomplete. It's not obeying fully. So all this type of experimentation he was going on doing and noting down, testing. But since it is from the ignorance that we proceed to the knowledge, we have had first to discover the secret nature and full extent of the ignorance. Even ignorance we have to understand what it is. If we look at this ignorance in which ordinarily we live, by the very circumstance of our separative existence in a material, in a spatial and temporal universe, we see that on its obscurer side, it reduces itself from whatever direction we look at or approach it into the fact of a many-sided self-ignorance. Basically, we are ignorant of the physical world because we are ignorant of ourselves. Self-ignorance is there. World ignorance is there. But self-ignorance also is there. Now he is listing all the ignorances possible. We are ignorant of the Absolute, which is the source of all being and becoming. Where is the world coming from? Okay, so we are ignorant of that. The Absolute. We take partial facts of being, temporal relations of the becoming, for the whole truth of existence. That is the first, the original ignorance. Now he is going to tell us the 7 ignorances in very short, and he has got a whole chapter on the 7 ignorances later on. Okay, so the first ignorance, original ignorance. What is original? We don't know from where we have come, or where even the universe has come. We are ignorant of the spaceless, timeless, immobile, immutable self. We take the constant mobility and mutation of the cosmic becoming in time and space for the whole truth of existence. That is the second, the cosmic ignorance. The cosmic ignorance is we are taking the cosmos for the reality and it's in movement. We don't know what is the static truth in the self. We are ignorant of that. Second, cosmic ignorance. We are ignorant of our universal self, the cosmic existence, the cosmic consciousness, our infinite unity with all being and becoming. We take our limited egoistic mentality, vitality, corporeality for our true self and regard everything other than that as not self. That is the third, the egoistic ignorance. We know only ourselves, we don't know the others. Egoistic ignorance. We are ignorant of our eternal becoming in time. We take this little life in a small span of time, in a petty field of space, for our beginning, our middle, and our end. That is the fourth, the temporal ignorance. We'll go into detail after the end. I'll point out which one is which. Temporal ignorance. Even within this brief temporal becoming, we are ignorant of our large and complex being, of that in us which is superconscient, subconscient, intraconscient, circumconscient to our surface becoming. We take that surface becoming with its small selection of overtly mentalized experiences for our whole existence. That is the fifth, the psychological ignorance. We are ignorant of the true constitution of our becoming. We take the mind or life or body, or any two of these or all three, for our true principle or the whole account of what we are, losing sight of that which constitutes them and determines by its occult presence and is meant to determine sovereignly by its emergence their operations. That is the sixth, the constitutional ignorance. As a result of all these ignorances, we miss the true knowledge, government, and enjoyment of our life in the world. We are ignorant in our thought, will, sensations, actions, return wrong or imperfect responses at every point to the questionings of the world, wander in a maze of errors and desires, strivings and failures, pain and pleasure, sin and stumbling, follow a crooked road, grow blindly for a changing goal. That is the seventh, the practical ignorance. So now, he has listed 7 ignorances. As I told you, there is a whole chapter on the 7 ignorances. But what they are, we'll just see in very brief. Okay? There is a summary of the seven ignorances. The original ignorance. We do not know the absolute, which is our origin and source of all that exists. From where is all this coming? The absolute reality on top, Satchidananda. That we don't know. That's our original ignorance. The cosmic ignorance, the second one. We are unaware of the self, beyond time and space, immutable, infinite. We are aware only of the mutable universe. We don't know the Brahman. That's what it's meaning. That's a cosmic ignorance. Third, the egoistic ignorance. Just 1 minute. We take our body, life, mind to be our whole being. We are not aware of our cosmic consciousness. We are not aware of our soul. We are limited to ego only. Body, mind, life. That's a egoistic ignorance. Fourth, the temporal ignorance. We are not aware of our past lives. We are unaware of our eternal existence. I have always existed in the past and I will always exist in future through many, many lives. I don't even know my past life. So that's the temporal ignorance. I am not only this in this life. I have been before and I will be later on. That's a temporal ignorance. The psychological ignorance. Fifth, we are unaware that the subconscient, the intraconscient, the superconscient, the circumconscient are all part of our total being. We are not only body, mind, life, but we are everything that is there. This we should refer back to the truth that the individual is the cosmos in a condensed manner. The universe is the individual expanded to infinity. And the universe condensed is the individual. They are the same. One is a microcosm and one is a macrocosm. So all that is the universe is part of me. So I must know that. If I don't know that, that's a constitutional ignorance. Okay? We are unaware of what constitutes our body, life, mind. Universal matter creates our... Now, we don't know that, okay? From where is our body, mind, life coming? Universal matter creates our body by its operations, but we are not aware of that. Universal life creates our vital with its functionings. Universal mind gives form to our individual mind. This is the constitutional ignorance. Seventh, the practical ignorance. This is the resultant ignorance of all the ignorances. We do not know how to conduct ourselves in the world without error, blunders and mistakes. So that's a practical ignorance. So we don't know anything. That's what he's saying.
Not very positive.
But it's not what is called existentialism.
No.
It is not. There is a way to conquer all these things, to know the soul and rise. Existentialism says, yes, the physical world is unreal and physical world is full of suffering. We have to learn how to live with it. No. There is a way out. That's the whole thing. Okay, so depression and pessimism is not necessary. That is what is the main criticism against the Mayavada philosophy. The Advaita philosophy in some parts says that physical world is unreal. The reality is there. But this is it's a pessimism. It's a semi-pessimism because there is a solution to get out. But half of it remains unknown and imperfect. Sri Aurobindo says, no, even that has to be done. So Sri Aurobindo is full optimism. Yes. Whereas Mayavada is only semi-optimism, semi-pessimism. So,
thank you.
We stop here today?
I think it's good, yes. Namaste all. We will see you again on Monday.